Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the podcast where I get to sit down with a new bow hunter that started last year, Adam Burr from Toho Fit. He's based out of Oregon, started hunting deer and elk with his bow this year, and just really interested in talking to him about his experience as a new bow hunter, the struggles that he's going with, and just really seeing what the areas are that I can improve on for creating content for newer bow hunters. So I hope you really enjoy this episode. There's also some fitness stuff in there, some motivational stuff that he goes through on how to stay motivated even though you're getting your butt kicked your first year bow hunting. I appreciate his perspective. As always, guys, if you can leave me a 5-star review on iTunes, or you can join some of the new things that we have going on Patreon and be part of the conversation, steer the conversation, and also have a huge influence on what the upcoming episodes will be by becoming a Patreon member, and really appreciate everybody that's done that so far. I'll see you guys in the end of the episode. Bye.
He got out of rifle hunting probably like in his early 20s. Just same thing. Friends kind of talk to him like, hey, it's so much better. You see so much more animal. You get to see so much more, you just have such a better experience hunting. And so, I got the same thing because for a long time it was this, I was hunting with my dad. My dad's getting older and he kind of just road hunts and he has a hard time getting around now. So, for me, like on the days that I wasn't hunting with my dad, I was out going, putting in the miles on my feet. So that was the one thing too, where it's like, I could be doing this with a bow and like, I can get so much more out of it. And finally this summer I was in Springfield and I was like, you know what? Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go to Cabela's. I'm just going to pull the trigger right here and let's buy a bow. Let's get this thing set up. And that's what I did. And 2 days later, I was out shooting and I shot for like almost every day up until season. And but like the thing is, I looked at it like buying a new gun, learning that adjustment of how to dial that in, how to and it really, to me, it came down to, it's just repetition. It's putting in that time. And, so I'm learning, like, it's a huge learning curve, but, I love it now. Now I'm like, I am not going back to rifle on anything. Everything I want to do from here on out is all.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I see that quite a bit with guys that switch over from rifle into archery. It's like, yeah, I was a serious rifle hunter, but now that I got a taste of archery, it's like 100% like never picking up a rifle again.
Yeah, it even like this year, I was sitting out on a couple of spots and I was looking out on a couple of ridges and bring out the rangefinder. I'm like, oh, and I see some animal like far away. I'm like, if I had my rifle, like I could pick that off.
Right.
But then it's like, how fun is that? Like I don't know. Like it's, to me, I really enjoyed getting up close on animals and being able to like really hear them and smell them, and just, it was so exciting.
It's a whole different experience. You're not, if you're shooting them 300 yards away, which I used to rifle hunt. I grew up rifle hunting my whole life.
Yeah.
You're not getting that same thing as a bull screaming at you.
No.
It's just not.
No. Yeah. That's the thing. Like I hunt with my dad and, we would see some, 500-600 yards out and then kind of get in close and then take a shot 300 yards out or something. And it's like, and then this year, I went out a bunch solo, and my first solo, I came across a bunch of tracks, just piss everywhere. And I'm like, oh, this is, yeah. And then I probably 20, 30 yards in, 10 of them just walked right by me. I'm like, this is legit. Like, I dig it. I'm done.
That's pretty cool, man. Well, let's before we get too far into this thing, why don't you give me a quick intro of who you are and what you do?
So my name is Adam Burr. I Just recently started a company called Toho Fit. I do training and brought in some apparel. And so now I'm really hitting the apparel side right now. I'm wanting to really connect people. I don't want to just be associated as just a fitness and gym product. Toho, which originates, it's a Tohopica, which is Native American for wild beast. The idea behind that was each and every one of us has a wild beast inside of us, no matter what it is. Hunting, hiking, if you're just an everyday, just average Joe, you have a passion in life. So what sets and what lights that fire under you to get you going and to drive that passion? So that's always been the idea behind the brand, is always motivate and help push people. And so with that, I've just been like trying to reach out to other people in fields that I see that are passionate in doing and giving back. And I want to be a part of that. And I want Toho Fit to be a part of that. So, and then with that, I was Marine Corps veteran, now part of the Oregon National Guard. I do that full time. And then, and then I do, training on the side, and and then now just an avid bow hunter.
That's pretty cool, man. What was the full word for Toho?
Tohopica.
Tohopica.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I was like, when was it? I'm trying to pronounce the name. I'm like, is it Toho Fit? Is it Toho Fit? I'm probably butchering somehow.
Yeah. I get that a lot. My thing too is like, you know what? Say it however you want. If it gets you to, get you to go to the website and find out about it, cool. That's because funny story is I was shopping for a shirt and I thought I was cool, so I went to the Buckle, which I hate, and I was looking for, at the time I didn't know it was Ruka. I just thought RVCA. Girl at the store was like, you're looking for Ruka shirts. I was like, not a U in there. It's a V, but okay.
Yeah, I thought it was RVCA.
Yeah. So later, I'm walking to my truck and pop on my phone and I type in RVCA, and come to find out, the V is a U, and in Greek it means clothing. I was like, that is pretty legit. I really like that. Like it. So that was my thing with coming up with the brand, was here's a brand that made me, kind of Google them. And so, yeah, I was like, let's do the same.
I gotta like that. That's one of the cooler names I've seen now that I know the meaning of it and actually how to pronounce it. I really like that. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, thanks.
So let's get into this here a little bit. I want to. So you started because of just you're out in the woods and you're with your dad, and that kind of pushed you because the opportunity was there. You just wanted to get into bow hunting.
Yeah. So a girl I was training a couple of years ago, she's a big bow hunter. And we were training one day and she's like, you watch Joe Rogan podcast? I was like, yeah. She's like, familiar with Cameron Haynes? I was like, the name, I've heard of him a little bit here and there. Like I haven't really paid too much attention. So she's like, check him out. Listen to this podcast. It's pretty legit. You'll like it. And so I was like, okay. That night went home, watched the podcast. I was like, this dude's legit. And he's from Oregon. Like, okay, I can dig this. And so since then, I started digging into like more about him, other hunters, and and so then it's just like then having friends and others, like, yeah, you got to get into it. It's so much better. And so I'm like, try this out. And so I went a couple years ago. I went with a buddy of mine, and I was just like, okay, but it wasn't the same because I had my rifle tag, but I just tagged along. And so it wasn't until I finally bought a bow and was like, yeah, okay.
So tell me, you went to Cabela's.
Yeah, went to Cabela's.
Which you have the bow rack there. I'm surprised. Did you not know about the bow rack at that time?
No, yeah, I didn't know. I know of because being up here in McVinnville, just out, what is it, Yamhill, I think, Cooch Archery.
Never been there.
I haven't been yet either, but a few friends, they have a 3D range, so say it's pretty cool. So I thought, like, all right, well,
Yeah. Yeah. You also have Bowtech, the actual
oh
facility.
yeah.
But
Which
you went to Cabela's. And
that was the dumb thing too, because I didn't even think about it. I was just so stoked. I was like, oh, I'm right next to Cabela's.
yeah. Well, hey, you made the decision and you went and got one. What boat did you end up going with?
I ended up getting a Diamond. I got oh gosh, drawing the blank right now. It was just like one of the cheap ones.
Diamond Infinity Edge or
yeah, exactly, the Infinity Edge. And so
or Infinite Edge or whatever they call it.
yeah.
Yeah, I bought one of those back when my wife was getting into it, and they're so tunable. They're so easy to adjust and everything. It's a good start, though. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I talked to the kid that was there, and I was just like, "Hey, look, I want something I can get started on. That's going to be reliable." And he's just like, here you go. Let's go get your measurements and poundage, and he's like, it's ready to shoot. So I was like, cool, let's do this.
Ready to shoot and everything. Did you end up what arrows and stuff did you go with?
At first I went with the Cabela's Extreme Stalker. I at first was thinking, okay, like I didn't know anything about what arrows, and I was even trying to ask the kid, and that this is now like where I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to Cabela's anymore. Because I was just like, hey man, like buying this bow, I'm literally I have bought my tags, I'm ready to go, I just need a bow and I need arrows. What arrows do you recommend? He's like, these Cabela's Infinity or these Extreme Stalkers are great. I'm like, sure, if you think it's good, let's do this. But it was just because I was dumb. I was just
well, you didn't know any better.
Yeah, and but like I had looked into some stuff, but at that point it just became such an impulse buy that I totally forgot everything. Like I had notes at home, like, okay, what, I had like things that I was really looking into, and then so then once season start, after because like I said, I shot every day up until season. I probably put I'd probably do about 50 to 100 shots a day.
That's great.
And then once season started, I think I got the Easton Bloodline, and I like those. They've been pretty well.
Those are just fine. Yeah. I actually know guys that have used those before. Yeah, they're just fine. What's the GPI on those? Do you know what the grains per inch is?
Off the top of my head,
I think they're lighter, which is fine. But I mean, that's
it's a little lighter. What was? Gosh, now it's killing me.
I was thinking like 8.7 or 8.9,
something like
yeah.
And then I just went with some like generic broadheads, nothing crazy.
Okay.
And then I think I got towards the end of the season, I started shooting the Schrackers.
Schrackers.
Yeah. So I like that. And so I'm going to stick with that for a while.
Perfect. Yeah. So what made you go with all that? So you did a little bit of research.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, where were you going and stuff like that? I'm just trying to get an idea of where, for somebody that just made a decision, right?
Yeah.
How did you get there?
I talked to a couple of buddies, like one of my buddies that I've gone hunting with this year twice with, he's got a Bowtech. And then after doing research, like I'm not dropping $1,000 on a Hoyt as much as I want to. I figured, like with that too, it's just, let's get in the groove of things. Let's make sure I like it. And then in a few years, once it's time to like kind of step up or update stuff, then we'll kind of go that route. But otherwise, it was really just, what do I really need to get started? I didn't want to drop a crap ton of money, first time hunting or bow hunting, and then being like, yeah, don't like this.
Exactly.
Uh,
I was at the bow rack. This has happened multiple times up there because they have more bows than down here at my shop,
yeah,
and there's a few times when guys are like, I want to shoot something like Cameron Haynes is shooting verbatim,
yeah,
and I'm like, they hand them a turbo. This guy handed him a turbo, and I'm like, just watching him out of the corner of my eye, and he's like just at full draw, and he's just getting pulled off the back wall,
yeah,
shoots, and he's like, man, I love this bow. I bought it. And I'm like, I just, the bow shop's going to sell them a bow. They're going to do it, but I, for guys that want to get into it, I think you're doing it the right way. Like you're, let's just figure out if we like it. Let's not shove a bunch of money into it. Right.
Yeah. I look at it same way. Cause I look at it as, I've worked with buddies where, they wanted to get into shooting.
Mm-hmm.
They got into, I helped them get into guns and, get into rifle hunting, and they're like, what gun should I get? Like, I want to shoot long distance or, this or that. I'm like, really, it's just, how about get some trigger time, get comfortable behind a gun, make sure you like it.
So these are guys that don't have any gun experience.
No experience. Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. So like one of my buddies that I lift with, had never had real gun experience. He's got like kind of a funny neighbor who just is like a military gun nut. He's telling a conspiracy theorist, so he's telling him, what kind of guns he should get, and then he comes to me, and I'm like, bro, no, just settle down. Because first I was like, get a pistol, get yourself a pistol, get something and get behind some trigger time. You want to get into hunting? All right, just get a simple, you don't got to drop $600-700 on a rifle. It really just, and that's the thing. And so then like another buddy of mine who's a hunter, ended up, he dropped like $1,800 on a gun and scope. And, he's like, I want to shoot 400 yards out. I'm like, okay. And then I was like, you don't need all this. Like really, as like I've said, it's trigger time. It's getting comfortable behind. You can get a good scope, get your grouping in. And that was my mindset too, going into getting a bow. It was like, let's just get a bunch of trigger time, see how everything feels. And yeah, because I see a lot of guys or girls become like gun bunnies, and it's just like, you didn't need that. And and then I see, and that's the thing too, you see guys like on social media with, oh, I got the same bow as Cameron Haynes. I'm like, that's cool, but can you hit something? Are you like the gun and the bow doesn't,
Well, that leads me into a question we got from a patron. I want to ask his question for you is, how did you avoid the typical hype of the industry in making your decisions? As you're doing all your research and you're on the Instagram, how do you avoid all the hype and just go with what you think, what you thought was best?
It's about being, I think, humble, like knowing, like checking your ego at the door. So with that, it's like anytime, like when I get into something new, I know, all right, I don't need $1,000 bow. I don't need the best of the best. Like I need experience first. And so that was my thing, was like, let's buy a mediocre bow. Let's buy, mediocre arrows and just fling a bunch of arrows down range and get that experience first. And, yeah, I mean, it's nice. Like I see, I'll check people out on Instagram. Like I'll follow them and see what they're doing, but it's my thing, I'm not out in the woods to look good. I'm not out in the woods, like I'm not impressing the deer and elk with the bow that I got. It comes down to me shooting, and so that really was my like thing of it, is just knowing my limits and knowing, okay, what do I really need and what do I really need to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then as I go with this, like how, it's, just kind of going with that. Like, how do I master this craft? And I think, again, it just really comes down to getting a lot of trigger time, getting a lot of time on the range, and that experience and that comfortability. And so, yeah.
No, that's cool. It sounds like you're getting into it for the right intentions. It sounds like your intentions were all right. It wasn't like a fad thing or a cool thing.
Yeah.
Because if you love putting meat on the table, a bow's not the most efficient thing you can take
No.
out.
It's
How did you do your first year?
I goose egged.
Did you?
I did. But it's I mean, but like I said, like,
did you get any close calls, any close encounters though?
Yeah, I mean, what was it? It was second towards this, almost second weekend towards the end of the elk season.
Okay.
I had a buddy of mine show me some areas to go that he's been hunting, and I'd go out there and just sit there and call and call and call, and some days it was nothing, and then others I'd get something back. And it was just like the coolest thing ever. Even if I didn't see him, I was like, this is so cool.
That's crazy. You got a call back here. It took me like a couple years just to get one to answer me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I talked to some other people, and they're like, oh, wow. And then, like, I talked to one guy that I've kind of met through Instagram, and he had posted he was heading out to like Eastern Oregon or something, and I just commented, hey, good luck. And then he got put a picture up of with him with a little bull, and I was like, that's badass, man, good job. And he's like, took me 18 years. I'm like, oh, you know what, like, all right. Like, right then I was like, I know what I'm in for.
Yeah, it took me I think 7 or 8, and I got my first bull this year. Not for It's just because bow hunting. I mean, shit happens,
Yeah.
I should have killed a big 6 point last year, and ended up losing them. And that was the third bull I shot at.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's just shit happens. When it comes to deer, it just seems like shit doesn't happen for me. A deer. I've said this multiple times, but deer has always been my easy kind of go-to thing. I can just get one, but elk has been an 800-pound gorilla that I've been losing. It's just
So I mean, I saw, like, going into the season, I saw herds, looking in places. I was like, okay, sweet. And then, like, my buddy, he's like, dude, that's cool. You saw them there today. They're not going to be there tomorrow. And I was like, what? No. Like, he's like, man, he's like, this, but I got so excited. And so having to have someone kind of like, settle down, little guy, like, and, kind of like, it's almost like I took it. I started asking questions like as if I never hunted before. Like, I was brand new to everything. And so it was getting in on animals and like actually going in and stalking, and it was exciting. Like, there was days where like I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything, and it sucked. You're like, I'm just like, why am I doing this?
What kind of calls and stuff did you go with for elk?
For elk, I just went with the Hot Mama that from Primos. That was that, and then a buddy of mine had, what is it, the Phelps, the big
the Unleashed.
So he had that, and then yes, but other than that, that's
I've been using Phelps for the last couple of years, and even had him onto the podcast. I think he's from Washington. Great guy, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like he's local, even though he's not.
Yeah. Well, I think, like anything Pacific Northwest, if I hear someone from Pacific Northwest, I'm like, oh, neighbor, sweet.
Yeah.
So, it's nice to know. So like I started, following them and some other people, and then just, I just watched the shit out of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And
you followed the Born and Raised guys this year?
Yeah, I followed them. That because a buddy of mine over in the Boise area,
Mm-hmm.
going into summer, he's like, because I was telling him, I was like, hey, I'm buying a bow. I kept telling him that last 2 years, and so finally, he's like, yeah, but watch these guys.
Uh-huh.
You'll like it. And so, yeah, they helped me out a lot. Like that was, yeah.
Yeah, a guy can learn a ton watching hunting videos, especially like since you're hunting rosies. Those are one of the only guys putting out good rosy content. There's not very many of them out there.
Yeah.
It is a different animal.
It is, yeah, and that's the thing. Like I grew up over here and over in Central Oregon, and two totally different out. And then, like one of my buddies that I hunted with a couple of times, he was just even saying too. He's like, the rosies on the coastal is a totally different animal. 50 miles, 100 miles, inland. It's their, just the mindset. And I'd never really thought about that because some of the areas that I had hunted in the past rifle, and then kind of I stuck local. I stuck around Willamina, Sheridan, and then even towards Lincoln City in that area. But yeah, it was a different game this year.
So after going through your first year, what would be some things that maybe you learned, or maybe some things that you would do different for next year?
Definitely be more patient.
Patient.
Because there was a few times where I just got excited, and like I either saw something, a little ways down, or I heard, and instead of just being like, okay, it was more like, this is my first year. I have an opportunity to shoot something, like, let's do it. And then, yeah, so patience, and then just getting more repetition. And then my big thing, here's the one thing that did suck. I came off a knee surgery the end of July, and I did not put in enough miles, or I wasn't able to get enough miles like beforehand and get in the shape that I needed. So that is definitely something I am a firm believer, and that's why like now, like I understand like Cam Haynes' mindset when it comes to hunting and why he puts in the miles on the ground, why he runs, why he works out. Hunting some of the areas that he hunts, and that's the thing where like I want to start hunting in areas in the next couple of years. That's the one thing, again, going into it too, is I learned you really, if you're hunting public land, you really got to put in the miles if you want to get away from everybody.
You do.
Because I ran into a lot of people shooting guns throughout areas, and I was just like, this sucks.
Well, we had a big bull tag my buddy's wife did this year, and just finding people out shooting and driving around.
Yeah,
it was like, man, like it's public land. I mean, that's the deal. It's public land. They have just a right to be there as much as we do, but sure does suck when you have a potentially once in a lifetime tag, and it's like,
oh yeah,
I wouldn't be out here shooting a rifle if I didn't, just for fun. If I knew this guy had waited 20 years to get this.
Yeah, exactly, and that's like the thing. Every year that I would get ready for rifle season, I knew I would go somewhere I knew where people weren't going to be, or I'd go during the week when I knew not a lot of hunters were going to be out. I think it was just more the respect aspect of it, because I knew enough bow hunters. I've heard enough of the complaints of, end of the season's coming up, and all of a sudden rifle hunters are out, zeroing in their guns, or just out, whatever. Like this last weekend for late season deer, me and a buddy ran into like 6 different groups of people shooting, and it was just like, this sucks. I can't. Yeah. So the other thing is just scouting out more areas and getting a better yeah. So that's yeah. This next couple years, I've been talking to a few people, and I want to like I'm thinking about going out towards Boise next year because just I've connected with some people through Instagram, and then I lived in the area for a little bit, so I have some friends out there, and so it's like, let's get together.
I hunted near Boise this year for the first time in Idaho, and I just about sold my house when I was done.
Yeah,
there, man. I was like, so beautiful over there. You see tons of animals, and it's steep country. It's hard. And stuff, but
that's the thing. Yeah, I love it. Like I went my first year when I moved to Boise. I went hunting with my cousins, and we went like 3 hours on a dirt road out of Boise along Lucky Peak Reservoir.
That's exactly where we went.
Oh, nice. Like up out of Atlanta.
We didn't go that far north. But
okay. Yeah. I fell in love with it. You know, it was amazing out there, and we saw so many different animals. And I'm like, I want to go bow hunting here. And, so talking to a few people, we're trying to put something together. And like a buddy of mine I was in the Marine Corps with, he's down out of Texas, and we're talking about maybe trying to get a group of some veterans together or doing something.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, a group of veterans, like-minded, and a bunch of like-minded people that just want to go out in the woods, camp out, and go hunt. So
yeah, that could be a completely different experience. Are you guys going to maybe backcountry hunt? Stay in the
I would like to, yeah. The one thing, like I've been watching a lot of Meat Eater.
Mm-hmm.
I got into that this last couple of years, and I love watching like how Steve goes out, in some of those. He had one where he was out in Idaho, and I thought, I want to do that like that. I want to take like a week or so off and just.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, throw the cell phone away and just go. So
that leads me into, so you had your first year, and I'd say it was a success. You had a great time. I mean, you didn't punch a tag. It's not, I say this all the time. It's not always about dead animals and grip and grins,
Yeah,
no. What would be some pieces of gear that you would upgrade from last year to this year? Did you stick with everything that was stock on the bow and go hunting?
Yeah, I stuck everything stock. So I'm probably I'll probably upgrade a few things like a stabilizer, just because I'm not 100% sold on my shots, but I'm gonna meet with a couple of buddies, and we're gonna shoot a lot this next this year. And so I just want to and that's the other thing, I want to surround myself with people that have a lot of experience in this, and so I can really master this. And you can only learn so much by yourself. So that, and then I'll see. I mean the sight that I have on it, like I'm fine, I feel good.
Should be a 3-pin with the
it's
the apex
3-pin. Yeah, so other than that, like I just kind of want to see where I'm at and like really like concentrate. Like, is it my shooting? Is it my, tech? I really feel like, whether it's you're shooting a gun or whatever you do, your technique and your form and whatever's off, everything else is off. And so I want to like videotape and really just hammer it down and like dial everything in.
I can tell you one thing that got me good pretty quick was 3D shoots back when I was starting out and stuff.
That's what I hear. So
they got Hoodoo up in your area. That's farther down towards my area, but
it's not too bad. Because if I go out of Salem up, heading over that way, it's, I want to say Hoodoo is maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah, for me it's about 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great shoot, man. You're gonna love it if you head there. We'll have a booth there and everything set up. Yeah, it'd be cool.
The girl that I trained, I think her boyfriend did it. They went and checked it out a couple of years ago, and they said it was a blast. So
it's huge now. It grows every year, but you got that. You've got one of the top ranked bow courses down in Eugene, Poodle Creek. And that's a great course. Holy smokes. And
That's what I heard.
I shoot that a couple times a year. I shoot a little bit of hoodoo. Usually I just shoot like maybe the Hoyt course because I'm too busy doing stuff. But
yeah,
man, there's nothing better for getting a guy tuned up for sure. You might have to change your sight if you're going to shoot that.
Okay.
You'd be shooting too far for a 3-pin.
Okay. What's that?
I was just saying, unless you really know your pin gaps, you might be shooting too far because there's some long bombs there.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I want to get. Well, I want to have a site where I have something that, if need be, I have something set up I can shoot long distance. I comfortably don't really want to shoot anything over 50.
That's starting out. That's plenty.
Yeah, because I hear people talking about like, I love Cam Hanes. I really look up to the guy. But I see so many people getting into bow hunting because they see it as a fad, and they see that like what Cam can do. Oh, that's cool. It's like guys I see shooting. Everybody talks about wanting to shoot long distance. Like, oh, I want to be a sniper. Like, no, just stop right there. Like, it's not like, so you're in it for the wrong reasons. If you're, it's not about, like you said, punching your tag in at meat all the time. It's respecting the animal. And that's why, like, I see people, like why I want to comfortably shoot 50 yards, because I don't want to run into that fact of, did I nick it? Did I injure it? And it's now like, that to me, it's part of hunting. And, I want to make sure, I want to make sure the animal's good. Two, I'm able to put meat on the table. But, that's, it's funny. One of the things I watched on Meat Eater, Steve Rinelli was talking about, he quit being like a trophy hunter years ago. He's like, I'm just putting meat in my freezer. If a little fork and horn walks by, I'm getting them. And I thought the same thing. Like, there was a couple of times during elk season, I saw a couple of little fork and horn deer, and I'm like, oh, I can get my deer tag right now. And then he popped up onto somebody's property, and I'm like, dang it. So it's not even like, going after monster bucks or monster bulls. It's just, you want to do it and have fun. And
well, it's like you said, for me, I'm picky on the deer, but for the elk, I don't discriminate.
Yeah.
It's the first bull that walks out, I don't care. And I should be the first elk period, because I could have shot a cow literally every year, like
yeah,
4 times, 5 times a year. Pass one up a couple times at like 7 yards. It's like, man, and I really wanted to shoot. I could have.
Yeah.
And I told myself, you're shooting a bull. That's what you start. I just didn't want to waver on my goal. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got different areas, and a trophy is a different. I mean, my first buck was a towhead. I mean, it was just a spike, and I was more excited about that deer than any deer I've ever shot. Period.
Yeah, same. Same exact and now, like when I was rifle hunting, I was like, nope, I'm only going after big ones. Yeah, because I've had that with the little guy. Like, my buddy, who one of my other buddies I hunted with a couple of times, we were out, and he was joking because I was like, dude, look. He's like, oh, we're gonna get a buck today. I feel it. It's in the air. We're driving out to this spot early in the morning, and he's like, you know what? It's late in the game. I don't care what deer walks by. I'm getting it. Whatever buck, doing it. Then we're later in the day. He's like, nope, I'm only going for I'm going big. It's like, what? And he's like, my first deer I ever shot with a bow was a big buck, and you can't. And so we joked about it, but so yeah, but like I don't know. My first year, I can't be picky. No. It's
not if you like me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like paying for it, yeah. So,
So tell me, from somebody that's been getting into the industry or into bow hunting, what were some areas that you had a hard time finding? Because as somebody that creates that content that caters to the newer bow hunter, I'd love to hear some of the areas that you had a hard time finding information on.
I really don't think I had a hard time really finding a whole lot of information. A lot of it was just because some of the people that I've talked to, some of the guys who've been hunting for a while, for instance, my brother or a couple of buddies. So I felt like I got real fortunate.
Yeah.
Because I was given, look these guys up or look this up. And it was all amazing information, and it helped me. Yeah. So I feel like I got real lucky.
Perfect. Yeah. See, when I started, man, I got this bow. I don't even remember where I got it. And it was a PSE Carroll Intruder 2. It was like a mid-90s bow probably.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what arrows. I didn't know what broadheads. I don't know. And so I was using, I don't remember what I was using for arrows. I think they were beacons, but
Yeah.
which is a fine arrow. But I was using these, I think they were Nap Razorbacks or something. They were these broadheads that were on a ball bearing and a plastic, I want to say plastic ferrule.
Yeah.
And it was like the crappiest heads I've ever had on one of the end of my arrows. And thank God I never shot one with one. I don't know what would have happened, but it was just, man, I for hours and hours and hours, and then trying to remember, what spines were and what spine I needed to shoot. I had zero. I had nothing. I mean, I just knew what the guy that was teaching me how to bow hunt used.
Yeah.
He wasn't a gear guy. He didn't care. And so he used Axis arrows, and I started using Axis arrows, and haven't looked back from Axis. Man, I've shot a lot of different arrows out there, but it's funny that the first arrow I landed on is the first arrow I started using with intent. It's the one I stuck with.
Nice. Yeah. I think once you get comfortable with something too, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Yeah. I mean, I've shot I'd say everything, but I haven't shot everything. I've shot a lot of stuff out there, the FMJs, all that stuff. And it's just, you kind of find what works for you, and then you just run with it. I mean, I was talking to a guy the other day on Instagram. He's like, what size kudos? It was on Go Wild. He was asking me about the kudu heads, and I'm like, I use 125s, but why do you use those? I was like, there's a lot of reasons I use those for me. If you make it, 100 may be good for you. I don't know if you're using brass inserts. I don't know if you're using a footer. It's just, I don't know. It's really easy to get. It's like a slippery slope. You can get way too into it.
Once you go down that rabbit hole,
Yeah, I can tell you one thing that I wish I'd done is I got way into the gear and less about the animal, and so instead of understanding an elk, I was just going out into the woods and just trying to run into one without learning about them. And it sounds like you're doing it different than I am, but I think that's why it took me so long to kill my first elk, is because maybe if I buy this, I can kill an elk, or maybe if I buy this, it'll give me the edge, instead of just understanding and learning about the animal. That was one of the probably hindrances.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I look at. One of the first things was I started really looking up gear. I'm like, what gear do I need? What, what boots, what stuff on my bow, what arrows. And then I started thinking about, it's like, well, what am I doing? Because then I started, making a wish list of things. I was like,
pretty soon you're $3,000 deep.
Yeah. I'm like, holy hell, this is a lot of money that I get it, but really it came down to, let's just get to the basics. Mm-hmm. Let's learn about the animal. And like I said, I knew enough from rifle hunting about animals, growing up with, my whole family hunting.
Mm-hmm.
but I thought, okay, and like all my buddies, bow hunting is completely 100% different. And so I'm like, okay, let's take what they're saying. Obviously, enough people are saying this. Like, okay, let's listen to why they're saying it. So, yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of Cam, a lot of Steve Rinelli, the Born and Raised Outdoor guys, just a handful of other people. And, just trying, really just how successful you are is learning the area you're hunting, and then learning the animal as well. Because once animal, like I feel like you can learn as much about animals as you want.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to change on you.
Mm-hmm.
They're unpredictable. The other thing is that animal knows that land way better than you do. But if you can get a good sense of it, a lot of it too, like I look at like military things, like prepping into, a lot of things that I do or I've done is I prepped for a lot. Like I got a lay of the land. I knew strategies of like exit and entry areas. And so it's like, what's so different about that when it comes to hunting? I need to know, so like I loved the Onyx, the HuntX app.
Mm-hmm.
That was a game changer for me the last couple of years. And I would lay in bed until like midnight some nights, just looking at areas around. And because then like a couple years ago, my last year, 2 years ago, I had the app and I lost service. And so the app just like shut down on me. And I didn't study enough. And so I was like, okay, we're not going to run into those issues. And so it's just, to me, learning all of that area and learning, because if we, I ran into an elk and it went right, I know what's ahead of me. I know the lay of that land. I just feel like with that too, you gain a little bit more knowledge. Mm-hmm. And it gives you, at least in my head, it kind of makes me think, it gives me a little bit of an upper hand.
Oh, so absolutely. When we were hunting Idaho and a bunch of other areas, I've used Onyx for a few years now and hunting a lot of different areas these last few years.
Yeah.
It just, without even being there, I can tell you there's the boundary line, there's the trail over here, there's a river over here, there's a creek, there's a water hole. I mean, you have information that would take somebody years to get that. Yeah. And it's, for me, like you said, that's been a complete game changer for me. I literally think I don't give success or my successes to certain products, but that has definitely upped my game. And my success rate. I use it literally on every. I use it every day, even just for work. I work out in the woods.
Yeah, no, it's. I've used it because I've gone on some trail runs and whatever, and just because I want to get familiar with areas, I want to know where some areas are. It's been great. The one thing, like what you said, for somebody new starting out, I will say this: get yourself comfortable with reading a map. Understand things on a map, because the app does really good, but there's times where you're looking at that, and if you didn't know how to read a map, you wouldn't know you're looking at a ridge or you're looking at a saddle or a draw.
Contour lines.
Yeah. So I will say that's the number one thing. Because I remember hunting with somebody one of the first times, and it was, holy shit, man. You didn't tell me there was a lot of up and down hill. Or I was like, well, look where we live,
Yeah.
But he's like, I looked at that. You told me to download that app, and I looked at it, and I don't know. I wasn't expecting this. I was like, well, Now you know. Now you know what those squiggly lines mean.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you, one of the harder things to find is a good hunting partner too. I mean,
Oh
having
yeah,
somebody that's on the same page. I mean, I've got a few hunting partners now that I don't even have to tell them what to do, or they don't have to tell me what to do. We just know. I mean,
yeah,
you know what each other's thinking, and I don't know. That's been a huge challenge, is finding a great hunting partner. You know, and
yeah.
I've been blessed with a few of them now, including my dad and my brother. But you know, I've got a couple that it doesn't matter how steep, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
With
No,
Oregon, that's important.
oh yeah. It the last few years, even rifle hunting, yeah, that's been my hard thing, trying to find a good hunting partner.
Yeah. So I want to get into the other aspect. You said that you're into the fitness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what do you do for is that your business? I mean, what do you do for folks with the fitness end of it?
Yeah. So I mean, like I do, one-on-one training, personal training, as well as online training.
Okay.
So with it is, yeah, I mean, it really depends on what, the person's goals are. And so, really it's just whipping somebody into shape and getting them where they want to be.
Do you do with the rehabilitation at all? Like
yeah, so that's something I've been starting with a little bit, is definitely the last few years, because I've had shoulder surgery and now I've had knee surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've gotten a little older, it's like you're not a young buck anymore. So I've really switched up my training, and then that's allowed me to grow as a trainer and work with people, rehabilitating and getting back in the game of things. So,
well, being a bow hunter now, I mean, you're going to really have to focus on shoulders.
Yeah.
Especially for clients.
Yeah. So that was, what's funny is the girl I mentioned that I trained a couple of times, her name's Bailey. And one of the things that when we first sat down and talked, she was like, I bow hunt and I need, my upper body is not strong. Like, she's like, I can pull a bow back, but it's not always fun. So I was like, okay. And so it was really fun training with her, because that was like one of my first hunters that I've trained. And then now I've trained like a handful of different people that hunt, and that was their purpose for training, was to get in shape and make sure that, whether they can pull their bow back and, or, they can make it up and down the hills, or they can drag an animal out. So
I know, me personally, I think future for both my shoulders is surgery, but I'm trying to avoid it the best I can. I have a friend actually working me up a plan right now.
Yeah.
On building a plan to basically, I don't know how to hopefully fix my shoulder without having to do surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, I've been crossing my fingers. If you ever watch the videos on YouTube, my jaw sucks. I jaw straight down towards the chest, because if I have my elbow up, there's just popping, and then that she was telling me what was going on. That muscle isn't moving freely under that one bone, and like it's getting trapped. And it's
okay. So like your rotator cuff is catching or
something.
Not
Yeah, she had a fancy name for it, man. But whatever. I'm like, can you fix it? She's like, I could give you some stuff to work out when you go to the gym. I'm like, I'll try it. Like, I want to fix my jaw, because my jaw sucks. I mean, I can draw a bow back 80 pounds, what don't really matter, but it just isn't pretty.
Yeah. That's the thing too, is as I've gotten older, like I want to get into yoga because of some of the guys that I follow, like military wise, or like MMA guys that I follow. And then even football, the benefits a lot of them are talking about, like that they're getting from doing yoga.
And all the guys on the Rogan show do yoga.
Yeah. You hear Rogan just talk about it. And so, I mean, it's gotten me like thinking, what's funny, my doctor does it too, and he teaches. And so,
it's kind of funny how yoga was for women, and now all the manly men, like the alpha males, took it over.
So that's the thing. It's just when you're in the gym and you're getting ready, like I tell people now, like, just slow down, get your accessory work in. It's all about injury prevention. And that's the thing I've learned too, was a lot of the stuff that I did and like I've had surgery for is because I was just being a dumb jock. I wanted to get in the gym. I just wanted to lift. I wanted to lift heavy, and I didn't care about anything else. And then as I got older and I got further into training, it was like, oh, yeah, stretching. That's really good. That's some good stuff right there. So I mean, like this last, like I went through 6 months of physical therapy with my knee So for before and after surgery, it was all together about 6 months, roughly 6-7 months. And my therapist, like, she's just badass, but she helped me like check my ego, and it was like, oh yeah, like no shit, I know this. But it's like, like hunting too, somebody telling you something and you're like, oh yeah, I know that makes sense. Or I look at a lot of the things now, and then like with working out, and I try to associate working out with my life, and like my whole plan. This is like, now I even do it to my clients, and I do it to other people. When people tell me like, hey, I'm starting off in the gym, what do you recommend? My first thing is why are you going to the gym? What's your purpose and reason? Oh, I want to lose weight. Cool. Why do you want to lose weight? Because I want to look good, or I want to fit it. Why do you want to do that? My thing is, the reason I keep asking that why, and I want to find that underlining thing is, you go to the gym, you watch everybody in there, everybody looks lost. A majority of people look lost. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have a set purpose or reason. And I feel in that category for many years, thinking I had a goal and a purpose, but it really wasn't. But now, like, I tell people and I ask people, what are your goals and hobbies? What do you like to do? What's your everyday life? What do you do for work? What do you do for, so then it's like, okay, let's put a workout plan based on your life. You want to look at all those other things will come with that. I feel like when people put too much stress on wanting to lose weight, all these like New Year's resolution, I want to lose weight, I want to eat better, I want to do this. You put so much shit on yourself that it just like everything collapses on you, and it's so much of a pressure. Then it becomes too overwhelming, like too much, and then people quit. But if you do something that, because you're doing something about what you enjoy and what your passion is, and you're bettering yourself on that, you're bettering those things that you like doing, then it just becomes fun, I think. I mean, like, no workout at times are fun during, right. But like this year, even though I had my knee surgery and I did a lot of work for it, but I felt great. And all that work that I put into, so going up in the hills, I was like, it was worth it. Like, I feel great. Mentally, I feel better. And like, no matter what I do, now it's like, I feel better doing this. Like, I have more energy and I'm able to do things. And so, like, one of the things too, like I tell people and I say when it comes to fitness is, finding out what your purpose is, why you want to do it. But like, I think of these things as being a dad and somebody that spends time out in the woods. What if something happened? Could I pick myself up? Could my daughter's 4. Could I carry my daughter and run a mile if I need to?
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that I think about now. So like when I'm in the gym and I'm sucking ass and I'm like, this sucks. It's my daughter relies on me. I rely on me. If I'm, I think about hunting, the animal I'm hunting relies on me to be better. Mm-hmm. I owe it to those around me. So yeah, that's where, and so that I try to get into people's like, why do you want to do this? And so I bring it back into hunting too, is getting into that mindset of.
No, that makes total sense, because Cody Rich and I were talking the other day on the podcast, and it always comes down to the intent. It always comes down to why, because if you don't have the right why, then you're short term. You're destined to burn out quick. It's just not long term, and so intent, like you said, it is everything. If you do not have the right intent or the right why, and you're not being honest with yourself, you're gonna burn out. Like Kim, my wife, has been on the keto diet for a long time now.
Yeah,
she has lost. She's done remarkable things with it. Now she's back on it. She went off of it for a little while, and now she's back on it, and she's doing good. She's actually at the gym right now.
Nice.
It's just, but her intent was, her thing is, I have a wedding coming up in June. I'm going to look good,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good. I mean, I think it's human nature. Like we all want to look good. Most importantly, I think it's, when it comes down to things, it's you versus the person looking back at you in the mirror. Mm-hmm. When you see that person staring back at you, are you comfortable? Are you confident? I think there's nothing wrong with, all of that. But then at the same time, you've got to think too, mindset is like the biggest thing, that I try to, again, get in with my clients and people, cause it's like hunting. If you don't have the mindset and you're out there and you're half-assing, mm-hmm. you're going to half-ass a shot.
Yeah.
And, you're either going to miss it or you're going to hit that animal half-assly, and now you run into the chance that you've injured an animal and you'll probably never find it, and you've wasted meat.
So getting into the mindset there, how did you, was it easy since you were getting into animals, but for having the mindset, going out, not killing something and not having what a lot of folks would have success, how'd you keep that positive mindset?
A lot of it, I think, it goes back to like my time in my time in the military. Mm-hmm. Like time with sports and other things. My biggest thing is you have to accept failure. If you can't accept failure, you can't. How can you appreciate success? So with that, it was like, I'd be sitting somewhere or I'd be walking somewhere, 10 miles in, and I'm like, this sucks. But then it's on the flip side, it was just like, you know what? Like, I'm out, no one's around. Like, I'm enjoying, it's peaceful, it's great. It was just that will, that drive of like, I want to do this. I want to succeed. And hearing that guy say it took me 18 years, like it took, I think of things like that. And I hear people, have hunted my whole life, and being around people that hunt, you hear stories, people talk about, oh, I got one my first year, or I got one like however long it took me. And like you're saying, it took you about 7-8 years. And I find inspiration in all of that. And so, I don't look at like any time, like I put a post, a couple of weeks ago or whatever. It was like one of the last weeks of late season. And I had talked about how, cause I have my bear tag, and that I saw a bear, and I was able to draw back on a couple of deer, but I didn't have a shot. And even though like the picture, it looks like I'm pissed and whatever. And I was like, this is what sitting out from 6 a.m. to 7 o'clock at night looks like. But then I had ended it saying that I won't trade this for any other day. You know, I got to see animals. I got to do and be a part of something. And so when you see something, and like to me, like drawing back on 2 different animals and not getting a shot, my next thing was next time. I'm getting them tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's getting it tomorrow. And yeah, so each day you just have to like mentally just tell yourself, like, you know, because it goes back to like working out, like, or, you know, you could be having a shitty time in life. Like, do you just give up then, or do you just keep putting on your boots and taking 2 steps forward? And so that's how I looked, you know, my approach to hunting and really everyday life. So
right. Well, fear's never final unless you quit. I mean,
yeah.
And I've always had my own like little slogan that when I fail and stuff, I always tell myself, and I don't know where I picked it up. I think I made it up, but I've consumed so much information, it's probably stolen from somewhere. But I've always told myself is failures will refine me, my successes will define me. And so, like if you just look at failure as a refining process, eventually you're gonna get that success. It's gonna happen. It took me years, but yeah. My failures didn't refine me. I joked around with the born and raised guys. I'm like, I'm probably the most confident, unsuccessful elk hunter.
That's how I felt this year. I like every day that I woke up and I went hunting, I was like, you know what? Today's the day.
Yeah.
I smell blood. I smell it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right song. You get in your truck and the right song kicks in. And you're like,
oh yeah.
It's meant to be.
Yeah. For my group, that's Taylor Swift. We've all got that luck that just surrounds us when she starts popping on the radio. We channel surf when we're driving around looking for Taylor Swift. We do. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna tell you how many times I had to put "Shake It Off" at the end of way home.
Absolutely. So, well, is there anything else that you're excited about that you wanted to cover before we wrap this thing up, or?
Not really, man. I mean, like, this is really my first podcast that I've ever done, so it's
cool. Well, I appreciate you reaching out, and when you're going into you being a new bow hunter, I'm like, man, I've been wanting to talk to somebody that's been getting into it and see what kind of challenges they've been going through, because I might not have a great perspective on that. I can just, I'm not new anymore, so
yeah. And that's my thing too, is like, I reached out to you because, I've been seeing your guys' stuff, and again, it's just, I want to surround myself. I want to get in the circle of people that have had success, that have been doing this, and like I can learn from, so it's not like I'm doing something and I'm just out there like blindfolded but.
Well, people love following along on someone's journey, especially somebody starting out. Well, where can somebody follow you at?
You can, just follow it like on Instagram or Facebook. But like on Instagram, it's just adam.burr_ or at Toho Fit.
Toho Fit. Spell that for people real quick.
TOHOFIT.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah, because I'll I mean, like on Toho Fit, I'll put stuff. I've put some stuff up from hunting and that as well. And like I said too, I want the brand to grow and go all over the place. I'm trying to hit people up in all different aspects, not just the gym and.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm always happy to support local guys, man. And then when I heard you're from McMinnville, I actually got a buddy that lives up there, works for the city up there.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah.
And it's a nice town. I really do like it. I've actually been through there a few times for work. So
okay, yeah,
it's pretty cool. But well, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, Adam. And if you ever need any help, or you're ever down in Roseburg area, give me a call. Maybe we can go shooting or something sometime.
Hell yeah, man. I'll hit you up for sure.
That works for me. So all right, well, we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. But I appreciate you coming on.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, that's this episode of the podcast. Tell me what you thought. What are some of the struggles for you newer bow hunters going out there? What are some things that you want to see me create content for? Maybe some information gaps or some areas that you're having a hard time researching on. Be love to help get somebody on the show or answer those questions myself. And really just want to move the bar for the newer bow hunter out there. Hopefully this gave you guys some motivation. And, it took me 8 years to kill my first bull. And, having Adam stay positive, even though he didn't feel his tag, there's a lot more to just punching tags out there. So let me know, what do you want to see for content in the future, especially geared towards new bow hunters? And if you get a chance, go follow Adam on Instagram at Toho Fit. And check him out, follow his journey. I'm really excited to see what he does next year, learning, taking that momentum he got from this year and learning, and really, really wish him the best of luck. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining me on this episode. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.